well, as I mentioned earlier on, the weather's been a bit rubbish here in New Zealand, but Bangladesh is a part of the world that is certainly experiencing some significant weather events at the moment. And also, it's one of those places where it's tough to be a Christian. It is a part of the world where certainly Christian faith is not only a minority faith, but practitioners of Christianity are persecuted for their faith. Joining us on the program now from Barnabas Aid, Stephanie Johnston. Kia ora, thanks for your time.
Good morning, Andrew. Good to be here today.
So take us to Bangladesh virtually. What talk to us about this country?
Yeah.
What's it like for people in that part of the world, and particularly for Christians?
Well, Bangladesh, like you said, is a country where Christians are minorities. They're about 1% of the population. However, they do have a lot more freedom than other Muslim majority countries. So we're seeing kind of this an increase of persecution of Christians in some degree, but you also have some really long established Bengali believers. So what I'd like to focus on today is what we're doing in Bangladesh to help the church under pressure there. At the moment, tensions are pretty high because they're facing an election. Some of you might have read or heard about the ousting of the prime minister in Bangladesh last year around August. She was basically fled the country because of the riots and protesting against her. And so now there's kind of this period of an in between. And so the, this election coming up in probably February will, a lot of Christians are kind of nervous about it,
Yeah.
whether or not it's going to be something that inhibits the religious freedom that they have currently.
When you have political instability, and Bangladesh, I know, has been economically unstable, even on a global
Mm,
scale. There's been some horrific
yeah.
problems there. But it's often when times are tough and there isn't the rule of law that people look for a scapegoat. People look for, hey, who
Yeah.
can we blame for this? And well, too often Christians get the short end of that deal.
Yeah, that's right. And during the protests and things like that, Christians were singled out quite a lot, along with other religious minorities as well. It wasn't just Christians; it was Hindus and Buddhists as well. But during that time, a lot of people were killed, and a lot of people were singled out because of their faith. Now, what we're dealing with in this regard is not necessarily government persecution,
Yeah.
but it's extremist groups, it's local hostilities, it's societal extremist pressures. That's kind of the stuff that we're dealing with Bengali Christians.
Mm.
And so it's something to keep our eyes and ears open, and definitely prayers for this upcoming election, because if we have, I mean, Bangladesh is a relatively new country. I mean, it's only been independent for about 51 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So, which seems kind of weird, but so they've got a lot of learning and growing to do as well. So, a country that started with religious freedom, this next election could potentially lead to less religious freedom. So, that's really something to kind of keep in mind as we think and pray for our family there.
And also for political stability there,
Yeah,
that people
100%.
that there would be a rule of law there. So when there are
Yeah.
offences committed against minority groups such as Christians, then there'll be some type of justice system in place to be able to respond
Yeah.
to that. Now, look, difficult things in many parts of the world, and I'm sorry, Steph, but this is the nature of the work that you do. You guys work
It
in the
is.
tough places, but also some
Yeah.
some fantastic good news stories from the front line, including one from Bangladesh recently.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to come alongside a Christian school and help them to build bigger classrooms. So the problem that they were having was they had to turn a lot of Christian kids away, and which is really sad because Christians, like I said, there is persecution there. That there is hostility towards Christians, and sometimes there's this kind of just hostility that comes out that children are even taught. And so to be able to provide kids with Christian schooling to grow up in an environment where they are, valued and loved on and really encouraged to grow in their faith is such an incredible thing. So it was a real pleasure for us to come alongside this school. We rebuilt some of the classrooms. We helped with some of the maintenance things, and the most important thing was they were able to to bring in 30 more Christian kids who are being schooled at this school
Wow.
now, which is really cool. And to me, kids, growing up in a Christian school environment is such an important thing, especially in countries where they are minorities and can have real threats of persecution.
And because you and I have talked about this before, there's a direct link between faith persecution and economic persecution as well. If
Mm,
you have
yeah,
a repressed Christian minority that doesn't get the education, then the economic outcomes for them and for
that's
their
right.
communities is much lower, right?
Yeah, in cities, you see a lot of times with jobs and things like that, Christians versus non-Christians can be pretty, pretty hard. So the last thing that we want is kids to grow up without education and then going into the job field where they can't defend their faith, don't know how to defend their faith, and then also getting the jobs that they deserve as people.
Yeah.
So that's, with education, that just empowers these young believers to grow up in their faith and to be able to, the thing that we see a lot is the resilience and the forgiveness and the hope of Christians in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And we want our kids to grow up that way as well. We want these Bangladesh children to grow up knowing, loving Jesus, and having a fantastic education that goes along with that.
And it's so transformational. We've talked beforehand about education opportunities in Egypt, for example, and the type of
Mm,
transformational change that this brings. As you mentioned, this is quite a young country. For there to be a new generation of educated Christian young people can bring transformational change to a society, particularly one which seems so unstable at the moment.
Yeah, we need more Christians in that country to have the education so they can have these jobs in politics or, law or whatever that looks like. And so this is the building blocks of education is getting a child in a school where they can grow. We know that in schools here in New Zealand, we have a great opportunity for kids to go to a school to grow, to have good education. Um, but at the same time, and Christian schools in Bangladesh, they need our support.
Yeah.
And we've got in our magazine, our most current magazine, the September October issue that has come out already. There's more about this story. So if you want to know more about what we're doing and the hope and the transformation that we're providing, you can definitely go online and just check that out. Or I would encourage people to, if they want to save a tree, to get the
Yeah.
digital copy of the magazine and just read about what's going on because there's these stories that we'll hear a lot about probably about the election, depending on which way that goes
Hmm.
and how calm it is. And hopefully it is calm. Hopefully there is a good election that comes up. But in the midst of that, as you start to hear these stories, think about our brothers and sisters there who need us to stand in the gap for them and pray
Yeah.
for them and support them in whatever way we can.
And hey, I love this about Barnabas Aid. It's not just you saying, hey, look, isn't it terrible what's happening over here? We should pray. Yes, you do say that. But you
Mm.
also say, hey, isn't it great what God is doing through this community? You can be a part of that as well. Yes, we continue to pray for
Yeah.
people in awful situations, but us here in New Zealand can invest into a Christian school in Bangladesh. We can be part of the answer in that process, and people here in New Zealand can invest into the good stuff that God is
Yeah.
doing.
That's right. We're an organization that is a big believer of helping children get good Christian education. This story in Bangladesh and what we're doing there is one of those ways. And so it's because of the support of and the generous donations that we were able to purchase new furniture, get proper electrical wiring done, and then also just bring in 30 more students.
Wow.
And so this is one project that we're doing. We do so many projects helping kids with Christian schooling. So it's really something that we do, yeah, we pray hard and we advocate for our Christian brothers and sisters in whatever way we can. But at some point, we're a funding agency at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We fund these projects that make this possible for children to grow up having good Christian education. And so we need people to get behind us on that. And so, yeah, like I said, get online, get the magazine, read about what's going on. And then if the Lord leads you, then put your money behind it.
Yeah.
It's that love and action that is really important.
BarnabasAid.org is the place to go. I've got a copy of the latest magazine on my desk at the moment, actually. There's a very enthusiastic young man on the front cover. Is he from the school in Bangladesh
Mm.
on the front cover there?
No, that's actually a child in Pakistan,
Okay.
but we do a lot of schooling in Pakistan
I
as
need
well.
to open the
Yeah.
magazine and read through it, right?
Yeah, you do
Ste-
actually. Hey, I love that you have it on your desk, though. That's amazing.
hey,
Yeah.
Stephanie, appreciate what you guys do at Barnabas Aid. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Cheers, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.